I did do my video essay on the election because I feel like there's a lot of videos on the internet that make it seem some Americans are unintelligent and vote without a purpose or without at least a good purpose. So I wanted to ask people some certain questions just to see what their answers were, and I'll be answering them myself as I go along. Did you vote? Yes, and it was my first time voting. Since it seems like a big election, did you feel obligated to vote? I did, but I knew I didn't have to if I didn't want to. Who did you vote for, or would you have voted for? I did vote for Biden. Why did/would you have voted for them? It seems to me that Trump is untrustworthy, and this may be me being manipulated by the media. But even if he is a good president, I feel like he's divided the country so much that it's very unhealthy for the country as a whole. And did you think there was voting fraud? I think there may have been some voting fraud, but not to the point where it affected the election so much so that Biden won. Vote?
No, I did not.
Is there a reason why you didn't vote?
I had to work and I just didn't get to the polls, and I didn't register on the online voting. I don't know. I just felt uncomfortable with the online voting, but I didn't really have a chance to get to the polls to vote myself. And
Okay.
I really didn't care to vote on the two candidates that we had personally.
Okay, so even though that this election seems like it's so big, you didn't feel like you were obligated to go out and vote.
I did feel obligated. I guess I didn't really have motivation per se to go do it.
Okay. If you did vote, who would you have voted for?
Probably the third party. Honestly, I don't know the name of the third party. I was told before, I forget, but I don't really feel comfortable with either of the candidates, Biden or Trump. So I probably would have voted for the third party.
Okay. Is there any specific reasons why you don't like Biden or Trump?
I just don't trust Biden. There's a lot of accusations right now about his shiesty movements in politics and his previous track record with, the African Americans in America, and Trump is Trump is a shiesty individual himself. I think from both ends they have some very shady dealings in politics, and they do some very uneasy things for the people. They don't, and I honestly feel like they're not gonna help the people that are struggling in America, because obviously, what have they done so far to help the ones that are not getting stimulus checks or catch a corona and can't hit the hospital up because they're filled up and they, or their medical records and everything. So I just don't feel like they're gonna do anything for us. They're doing stuff for certain Americans, but as far as Trump, like he's had taxes knocked down, and he's shut down when the pandemic has gotten real bad. But I just feel like for the struggling people in America, no help is really helping. We're not really getting help.
Okay. Do you feel that there has been voter fraud of any kind in this election?
I feel like it is possible with the online voting. It could be possible because there are glitches in systems like that. Electronically, there could have been like they said. I heard that it was a blackout, or a pitch black or whatever, when the votes were coming in. So then all of them were coming out Biden. It's possible that it could have been rigged a little bit. You know what I mean? Especially because when Trump was being elected 4 years ago, there was talk of shady votes then, and now it's being done again. So it's possible. I do believe that.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so did you vote?
No, sir.
Why didn't you vote?
Wasn't registered in the state of PA.
Okay, if you were registered, would you have felt obligated to vote since it's such a big election?
No. I don't think voting is an obligation. I think it's more or less, if you want to see something change personally, you should go out there and do what you have to do to make that happen. Whether it's voting for president or whoever else.
Okay. If you did vote, who would you have voted for and why?
I would have voted for Trump because I think economically he's better for this country.
Okay. Is there any policies of his that you agree with?
You'd have to get back to me on that one.
Okay. Why wouldn't you vote for Biden?
To be blunt, I don't think anybody should have voted for Biden because he's a closeted racist and he's a huge advocate for black people. But it's still putting them in jail as we speak, along with Kamala Harris, who's locking up people that are between the age of 8 and 13.
Okay. Final question. Do you believe that there's voter fraud in this year's election that has changed the election for Biden to win?
Well, with a little bit of research, I do think there is voter fraud because there's actually 30 different companies that make the ballot machines. It's not if we had a system where one company made it and election day was an actual holiday. You have 5 polling stations in the whole state. So whether you have to drive an hour, 20 minutes, 3 hours, if you want to vote, you got to go do that, and it gives you real-time data. But there's always been election fraud.
Okay, thank you. So, did you vote?
No, I didn't vote.
Okay, if you did vote, so you didn't feel obligated to?
Well, I'm a convicted felon, so I'll be able to vote in 2024 in Pennsylvania.
Okay.
In Florida, they let felons vote in Florida, which the felon vote does count because, like, say, if all the felons was able to vote, they probably wouldn't have voted for Biden because he basically persecuted a lot of the, he didn't persecute the suburbans, but like the hood, like they got maximized. The crime bill. Go ahead.
Okay.
So I most likely would have voted for the current administration despite of what was going on because I seen a lot of more black people prosper, if that make any sense.
Okay. And you wouldn't have voted for Biden because of the...
Because of this crime bill, because of his life work, Joe Biden's life work and his vice president life work, it harmed thousands of people that I knew, which actually, it harmed thousands of people that I knew and thousands of families.
Okay, my last question. Do you think that there's voting fraud?
Voting fraud, there's no proof of that. Just like last time, it all depends on who wins, what the cry is going to be. Last year, the Russians were involved, and this year, they, it's mail fraud. So one administration, they got an uplift from the last fraud, and then the same current administration is crying foul. No, hell no. It's crazy.
Okay.
So when you think about it, no.
All right, thank
Going
you.
over the interviews again, I feel like a lot of people didn't vote because they weren't registered, whether it be they were a convicted felon, which is, I feel, is a good reason to not feel comfortable with the ways to register, which I feel like is not a good reason and shows lack for caring who's going to run the country. But including myself, 2 out of 4 people felt obligated to vote, which I feel is mainly the media hyping it up and a lot of fear-mongering from the media and from other civilians. I did find it interesting, though, that we all had different answers to who and why we would vote for a specific person. But it did seem more of, I'm voting for this person because I'd rather have them in the office than the other person, and less of a reason of what they would actually be doing or are doing in office. 3 out of 4 people did feel that there was voting fraud, but with different reasoning behind it, from companies running the polls to technology not being suitable, which makes me think there are a lot of other reasons where many people in the country feel like there's voting fraud. These answers make it clear to me that there are people, at least in my area, that have their own reasons to vote but don't actually because of not registering, which makes me feel like it's not important enough for them to go out of their way to vote.